Hi, this is Renee Romeo. Today I'm going to show you how to remove polyurethane from decking material. Now, I would never ever advise anybody to put polyurethane over your deck. First of all, it's a gloss finish. When it gets wet, it's going to be extremely treacherous. So you really need to rethink this and just go ahead and put on a regular stain material and leave it at that. It'll be easier for you to restain in the future, and it'll look better. You won't have a glare on it when the sun comes out. So that being said, my entire deck is covered with polyurethane coating. I don't know why the previous owner decided to do that, but I'd like to change the color, and it's beginning to peel, so it's looking pretty shoddy. So I'm going to take you through the steps on how to remove that polyurethane coating. It is pretty involved, and it's going to take some time to get it off, but in the end I'll have a much better looking product. So here are some of the tools that you're going to need for the project. You're going to need a pressure washer. Some of the instructions for these stain removers that you purchase say that you can go ahead and use a regular garden hose to rinse off the product. But this product is an acid, and the acid will remain in certain areas like nooks and crannies if you don't have enough pressure behind it to get rid of and remove all of that acid material. So I'm using a Deckscapes product. It's a Sherwin-Williams product. It's a stain and sealer remover. Basically what you're going to do is you're going to take this product and you're going to put it into one of these sprayers. I'll fill it with the acid product, and I can go ahead and spray down all of the wood, and what it'll do, it'll sit on that wood for 10 or 15 minutes. I'll go ahead and scrub it into the wood and then rinse it off with the power washer. Once that's done, I have to go back and I have to use a product called Revive. Revive, what that does is it neutralizes the pH of the acid. So if you have any acid left over after you've power washed in any nook and cranny, if you go ahead and try to stain over that, what it'll do, it'll take the new stain and it'll start bubbling up. So you don't want that to happen to your new deck. And so this will neutralize the pH, it'll prevent that from happening, it'll provide you with a really great surface, a nice, neat, clean surface for you to put your new stain on top of. And the other thing is, I have a belt sander here, and what I do with this is any area of, like the deck rail in particular, that's become raised over the years, I'll just take this belt sander to the top of it and smooth it out before I go ahead and reapply the new stain. For this portion, I have rubber gloves, I have some glasses, and I have a covering for my head in case any of this sprays anywhere. So basically with these units, you have to pressurize them by pumping the handle up and down several times. So that's ready to go. So basically I'm going to start at the top, spray all the way down to the bottom. And I've made sure that all of my plantings on the opposite side of this have been sprayed down with water as well, in case the acid hits it, it's not going to kill your plants. Okay, it's really well saturated, so I'm going to go ahead and let that sit for 10 or 15 minutes, and then I'll take a synthetic bristle brush and go ahead and scrub it in. The stain has become kind of a goopy mixture after it's been washed off with the synthetic bristle brush. So at this point, I'll go ahead and put my gloves back on and turn on the pressure washer and see how well this actually comes off. Now, a lot of these areas have gone right down to the bare wood, but you don't really need to get all the stain off. You're just concerned about that polyurethane coating. So you can adjust either your tip or your distance away from the wood, making sure that you don't damage it, but it's looking really great. As an aside here, I know equipment is really important when you're doing a job like this, and this is my very first pressure washer. The great thing about it is it's electric. I went with an electric because I didn't need a real heavy-duty machine, but not only that, it's on right now and it's quiet. So if you have a gas-generated machine, you're going to have a lot of noise in the background going on the entire time. You're going to need to get gas. So that's just a little aside, which is I'm really, really happy with this machine, and I think I'll power wash the entire house when I'm done. The covered porch area is done. It took a little bit of effort, but it's really not a bad process. So at this point, I'm moving outside to the more weathered areas of the deck, and this is going to be much easier because a lot of the polyurethane has weathered off already. So I'm not going to be fighting that. So before I go ahead and get started with the chemical remover, I had my belt sander out, and I was telling you about maybe taking down some areas that have raised over the years due to weather. So I'll just demonstrate how that's done, and you can use that technique on your deck too. Now it's got a little bit of kick to it, so you're going to have to pull it back as it wants to move forward. Glasses would be good. Alright, so I have a coarse sandpaper on there. It's really rough, and it's made specifically for taking things down. And so you'll see in just that little bit, I've gotten quite a bit of sawdust off of that. But it's a really nice surface. It's really nice and smooth, so no one's going to get a splinter with it if they run their hand over the top. I'm just zeroing in on scrubbing all of this off. You're not really trying to scrub everything down to the bare wood, but you can see it's a little bit goopy here, and that's exactly what you want after 10 to 15 minutes. So you may be wondering why I'm not going down to the bare wood, and it's possible for you to do that with a couple of applications. But I'm putting solid color stain on all of the vertical surfaces, and then the floor, I'm going to rent a power sander like you would for an interior hardwood floor, and go over the top of that and sand it down. The reason why I'm doing that is because I'm using a semi-transparent stain on the floor. So I don't have to be quite as careful with all of this stuff because this is all going to be sanded off eventually. So you can see I'm moving along pretty quickly at this point. Everything's coming off just fine. I don't see any evidence of polyurethane being left behind, and it's going to dry just great. I'm on day 2 of removing the polyurethane from the deck, and it's already been done. So the stain and sealer remover has been applied and rinsed off. The next step of the process is to take this Revive product, which is basically in the same series of Deckscapes products, and do the exact same process with that. So once you've done all of your stripping, you rinse it off, and then you let it dry, and then the following day come back and put on this Revive product. Now it seems to be the same consistency as the sealer remover, so you know, one little word of caution is make sure that you've got long pants on and you've got long sleeves if the weather permits. Wear protection, because I did get a little bit of acid in my neck area and it did burn a little bit, so you do have to be covered. So I'm going to go ahead. Hopefully the second time around will be a little bit quicker, since I have, you know, a system and process in place for doing it pretty evenly. But you let it sit 10 or 15 minutes, take a scrub brush, scrub it in, and then power wash it off. So that's what I'm getting ready. Now the way you'll know that you've gotten everything neutralized is that when you go ahead and use your power washer, previously the stripper would foam up on you when you went to power wash this, and it was hard to get the foam out. So when you use it here, it won't foam anymore. So it leaves a nice clean surface, and then once this is dried, you wait 2 days, and then you can go back with your stain. The railing project is done. You'll see what I've done with the acid remover is I've actually taken this down to a level where I can go ahead and put solid stain on top of it. I could never do this with a semi-transparent stain because the acid didn't eat enough of the finish away in order to give it a nice clean surface. I would have to finish it with a sandpaper or something like that, which, you know, getting into all the nooks and crannies just doesn't make it a feasible project, I don't think, for anybody to attempt. So it's a solid color stain. From this point, the polyurethane on the decking floor material, that's going to be taken care of with sandpaper. You can see that I have the steps taken down pretty well, but I will let you know about the pitfalls that I've encountered along the way. I do have a mouse sander, which is a really great tool. This it has a nice little tip on it, which will allow you to get into all the nooks and crannies in these areas, you know, such as like the corners of the stairs or up underneath other surfaces. So this is a really great tool for that. This is an orbital sander. This gets attached to a compressor. So you do need a specialized tool. These other ones you can just plug into an electrical outlet and you're good to go. I have a 1,500 square foot deck approximately, and so there's a lot of spaces. When you're talking about getting up underneath any of these rails, it gets a little bit tight in there. So, you know, this tool can actually get around pretty well. It's got this really great little kind of you press on it and it starts moving. So, and that gets into all the nooks and crannies that you need to, other than the corners, and for that I use the mouse sander. So I think between these two tools, you could do all of your edging, and then on the main body of your project, you're going to have to rent a floor sander. So here's a quick demonstration. You'll see my pad really does need to be changed, but this is just a demonstration to show you how easy this comes off. So what you're going to do is you're just going to depress this little top. It is loud, so you need ear protection. Make sure that you've got earplugs the entire time you're operating this, because not only is this loud, as it rotates, your compressor is also a loud piece of equipment. So earplugs are a necessity. So I'm just going to show you here. Now the great thing about this tool is that you can manipulate it, you know, in either direction, up or down, depending on if you've got a crack and you have some stain that needs to come off in the crack or not, and if you've got different levels here, so you can kind of manipulate this however you need. The floor sander has taken the cedar right down to the bare wood, and other than where all of the knot holes were, I went ahead and I took an orbit sander, the same round 6-inch sander that I've been using for the edges, to hit all of those, each and every one, all of those knots in the cedar itself. Each knot is in really good condition throughout the entire deck. It's turned out just absolutely beautiful. There is a little bit of red stain left over between the boards here and there, but as you can see, you cannot tell at all. If I close in on it, it's still really, really beautiful. So believe it or not, that video was made 3 years ago, and the deck still looks just as good as it did the day that I finished. If you follow my video tutorial step by step, you'll have the same results as well. So all I've done from that point is I've painted everything with a paintbrush, and I've taken the paintbrush the exact same width as my decking surface, so you can adjust yours according to whatever you have, and make sure you have a continuous wet edge. So only do 3 or 4 strips at a time in one direction and then go back in the other. And if you keep zigzagging across your surface, you'll have a beautiful finish in the end. So this is Renee Romeo. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll bring you another great project in the future.